Hello and welcome back to the Unite Pieces channel. Today, we are excited to recap an action-adventure movie from 2020, starring Milla Jovovich and Tony Jaa, called Monster Hunter. Monster Hunter tells the story of when Lieutenant Artemis and her troops are transported to a new world. They engage in a harrowing battle for survival against massive creatures of immense power. So, grab some snacks, and without further ado, let's get to the story. The movie opens with Lieutenant Artemis, seen leading a squad. It turns out that she is the leader of the Falcon team of the United States Army, and they are on a mission to rescue the Bravo team who lost contact. The last transmission from the Bravo team sounded strange, so they were sent to the location of the last communication from the Bravo team. On the way, they passed several stone statues with strange carvings. Arriving at the location, they saw that the tracks of the Bravo team's car suddenly disappeared just like that, as if their vehicle disappeared suddenly. Shortly thereafter, there was suddenly a sandstorm coming towards them. The Falcon team decided to return first to headquarters and provide a report, but this sandstorm was faster than their vehicle, so the Falcon team was trapped in it. The strange thing is that this sandstorm makes the stone statues light up, like a sign of teleportation. Because they couldn't see ahead, suddenly the Falcon team's vehicle fell into a ravine, even though there was no ravine at all before. After the sandstorm passed, the Falcon team found themselves in a desert, a place far different from where they were before. They found the bodies of Bravo team members and their destroyed vehicles near their location. The corpses seemed to be burned by something very hot, to the point that the surrounding sand became glass. Artemis decided to investigate further and told her team to take their vehicle to the nearest rocky area. In the distance there was a man spying using a telescope. On the way, they saw the carcass of a very large creature, even bigger than a dinosaur. They stopped and were very confused about what they saw. Suddenly, the strangely dressed man shot an arrow at the Falcon team to warn them, but the Falcon team thought he was an enemy and shot him instead. Moments later, a giant monster with big horns suddenly appeared. The Falcon team hurriedly fled while shooting at the creature, but their bullets did not work and could not even scratch it. In its escape, the monster killed 2 members of the Falcon team before they finally hid in a cave in the rocky area. Because it could not enter, the monster returned to the desert. Now, the remaining members of the Falcon team began to be frightened and confused. They concluded that now they were not on Earth. Not long after, a giant spider-like monster attacked Artemis and paralyzed her. The other Falcon team members thought she could not be saved, so they left her. However, in the end, all Falcon team members were caught by a swarm of spider monsters. On the other hand, Artemis was actually still alive. It turned out that she was only exposed to the spider monster's poison and lost consciousness. How many moments later, Artemis woke up and found herself in the spider monster's lair. She saw one of his team members dead and became the monster's food. While fleeing, she found a member of her team who was still alive, and they tried to escape together. But not until far they ran they were intercepted by other spider monsters, and it turned out that her team member was used as a breeding ground for spider eggs, and was not saved. Artemis then used a flare and sprayed oxygen to burn the spider monster, and she tried to escape through a hole. After she made it out, she saw that the spider monster did not want to come out of the hole because of the sunlight. Artemis used this opportunity to explore the rocky area. She climbed to the top to see the surrounding area. After arriving at the top, she saw a pile of rocks that looked made by a human. She also saw in the distance a tower surrounded by a storm similar to the storm that brought her to this strange world. Artemis then picked up a stone and threw it into the desert below. Immediately the big-horned monster appeared, because it detected a sound in the sand, but seeing no one, the creature dived back into the sand. Artemis returned to explore the place, and she found a group of shipwrecks. At one of the shipwrecks, she felt the presence of another person, and sure enough, the previous man we will call the Hunter suddenly attacked her, so there was a fierce fight between them. But the Hunter managed to defeat Artemis, and tied her hands. The Hunter then took Artemis to his hiding place, because the night was about to fall and the spider monster would start hunting again. They rested in the hiding place until the next morning. The Hunter got up first and looked outside, but when he came back he saw that Artemis had broken free of her bonds, and hit the man on the head from behind. Now the positions were reversed, the hunter was bound and Artemis was free. When Artemis wanted to drink, the hunter kicked the water reservoir, making Artemis upset. Artemis then retaliated by attacking the two statues that the hunter worshipped. The hunter was angry and attacked Artemis. The two of them then fought again, and this time they seemed to be evenly matched. The fight caused them to roll out of hiding, and the hunter almost fell into the hole of the spider monster. Artemis then decided to help the hunter and pull him out of the hole. They then agreed to make peace, and Artemis untied her hands. Although they did not speak the same language, they could understand each other's intentions from gestures and sign language. The hunter began to explain as much as he could about the situation in the area. He also told the name of the big-horned monster was Diablos, and the spider monster was Tursilla. They had to get past the Diablos to get to the tower Artemis was heading for. The hunter proposed to use the poison from the Tursilla to put the Diablos to sleep, and Artemis agreed. When night fell, they used Artemis as bait to lure Tursilla to a place where the hunter was getting ready to ambush it. They also managed to kill a Tursilla and take its venomous fangs for later use. At night, they seemed to be able to communicate a little and be more friendly with each other. After that they began to get ready. The hunter began to dissect the venomous fangs to make poisonous arrows. He also took Artemis to the wreck and gave her new clothes and weapons. He also trained Artemis in how to fight, and how to use the tools he gave her. After their preparations were complete, they lured out the Diablos by throwing a barrel in one direction, and they ran in the opposite direction, towards the wreckage of the Falcon team's car. Using the Falcon team's equipment and the poisoned arrows they had prepared, Artemis and the hunter managed to defeat the Diablos, but in the fight the Diablos managed to attack and knock the hunter unconscious. Artemis then dragged the hunter until he regained consciousness, and was able to walk on his own. They continued their journey in the direction of the tower. A while later they came to an oasis area, and there the hunter taught more about his world as they continued their journey. One night, a group of monsters ran into the place where they were resting. Suddenly, they were saved by a group of people dressed similar to the hunter, and after the group of monsters had passed, Artemis approached the hunter and thanked him for helping them. However, the man hit Artemis instead, and brought her unconscious. When Artemis woke up, she found herself in a prison on a ship. She tried to free herself through the floor below. On the floor below she found a room that looked like a kitchen, and saw a giant cat cooking below. Soon the hunter appeared and brought her to meet his leader. It turns out that they were rescued by the group of hunters, and the person who hit Artemis before was the leader. Their leader could speak English, which surprised Artemis. He told them that there had been people from Artemis's world who entered his world, and the tower where Artemis was headed was also the destination of the group of hunters. They explained that the tower was a machine from an ancient civilization, which could open a portal between their two worlds. The group of hunters wanted to close the portal in the tower, because he did not want the two worlds to meet and destroy each other. Artemis agreed to help them, because she also wanted to return to her own world. The leader of the hunters also told Artemis about a monster named Retalos, who protected the tower. Retalos is a monster that looks like a dragon that is very strong, and very difficult to kill. His only weakness is when he is preparing to spit fire from his mouth. The next morning, they chose a group of hunters and went to the dance. Arriving at the tower, they got ready to attack Retalos, but Retalos was ready and attacked them first. A fight ensued between the group of hunters and Retalos. In the middle of the fight, Artemis managed to injure Retalos and attract his attention, so Retalos chased Artemis and threw a breath of fire at her. To avoid the breath of fire, Artemis jumped off a cliff, and accidentally went through a portal back to her home world. There Artemis was immediately saved by the army military who were on site on a rescue mission. However, the sandstorm suddenly reappeared, but this time it was not them who moved to another world but Retalos who arrived in their world. Retalos easily destroyed the military army and their vehicles, also easily destroyed helicopters, and even military aircraft carriers. Seeing the destruction caused by Retalos, Artemis prepared herself and advanced to spray Retalos. She remembered that Retalos' weakness was just before he released his fire breath, so she waited until her chance came and threw a flare into Retalos' mouth, which caused Retalos' fire breath to burn his own insides. Just when Artemis thought she had won, Retalos suddenly got up again and attacked. Fortunately, there was an explosive arrow that hit Radulaw's eye, and it turned out to be the Hunter and Hunter leader, who came across the portal to help Artemis defeat Ratalos. With a precise explosive arrow shot that hit Radulaw's neck, they finally managed to defeat the mighty monster. After defeating Ratalos, the three of them saw that the storm was still continuing, and there were still other monsters in the tower that flew into the Earth world as well, so they had to prevent the monsters from crossing into this world. With renewed determination, they prepared themselves for the next battle, and suddenly the movie ended. What do you think of this movie? Please write your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit the like button, and support our channel by subscribing, so that we stay motivated to create more interesting content for you to enjoy. And until next time.